I think the fear that the defense has brought up is that, with people who are in Minneapolis, right? If they know and understand that, hey, if we by the law find him to not be guilty of what he's being charged of, we cannot come up with that. We can't render that decision, because if we do, the places we work at, the shops that we shop at, our city is going to burn, and we ain't trying to deal with that. So he can go do however many years he's going to do, because I got to get back to work. So I think that's the fear that the defense has when it comes to that.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't stop the world just to put in your case either. So, I mean,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I got you. Moving on. I'm trying to figure out, because I've read, a few different things. I'm trying to figure out, what does the prosecution actually need to prove? Do they only need to prove that Derek Chauvin's actions were a substantial causal factor in the death of George Floyd, or that he was also committing a felony at the time?
So first, what is what degree of murder, or what type of murder are they charging Derek Chauvin with?
Third degree murder. I want to say second degree.
There's third degree murder, second degree murder, and I think second degree manslaughter is what they're charging them with.
Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to see, like, in Minnesota, what are the elements of second degree murder. So in Texas, that would be the equivalent of like depraved heart murder, which is, or like heat of passion murder. So you did something with so much recklessness that you could have avoided it if you weren't being as reckless. So that's what it sounds like to me. So if that's all they have to prove, to me, that's kind of a low threshold. I think with second degree murder, the difference between it and first degree murder is you don't have to really prove intent.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, to cut you off real quick, with purpose, Staci. You talking about intent. Just for everybody out there clear, he's facing second degree unintentional murder, third degree murder, and second degree manslaughter.
Okay. So I guess the first thing we need to do is to figure out the elements for second degree murder in Minnesota, which if it's the same as Texas, it's just that you had to have acted with so much wanton neglect or so much recklessness that you could have avoided killing this person. So again, to me, with what I've seen and with what the witnesses have stated, that seems like it's very easy for the prosecution to prove. Whether or not it will hold, that's up to the jurors. But according to the little that I've seen and how it's been going so far, I think that they're proving that.
Gotcha.
So with them proving that, right, with the prosecution team proving that, the defense team has been very adamant and trying to turn it towards George Floyd's like health before he was in that situation. His heart, he was doing drugs, so on and so forth. How smart of a tactic do you think that is, or is like what's how smart do you think that is, if it's smart at all?
I guess that's where the superseding cause and the substantial cause comes in, because they're trying to say, but for this superseding cause of his sickness, he probably would have still stayed alive. But that doesn't matter, because if it wasn't for the knee of the police officer, even without his sickness, he probably wouldn't have died, right? So I understand the argument, but I think it's a very, very, very weak argument. So you mean to tell me because he did drugs, or because he had COVID, or because he had heart problems, he would have just dropped dead that day?
Yeah, let's kneel on a healthy person's neck for fucking 7 minutes and see if that shit go good. You know what I'm saying?
But I will give Derek Chauvin's defense attorney one clap for attempting that, but I do think it's a weak argument.
Dang, what was I gonna ask? Oh, so if they were able to at least, cause some one or two or three of the jurors to maybe even believe that those things were a superseding cause. Would the superseding causes, if they were able to get a couple of them to believe that, would that then outweigh the substantial cause? Like, would that say, as far as legally, would that outweigh it?
I think this is federally. They have this rule called the eggshell skull rule, which means you get people how you get them. So if you, let's use a car accident, for example. If I'm driving a car and I hit Bobby in a fender bender, I just tap his car, but Bobby was 100 years old and he had cancer and heart problems and he died because of the fender bender, I could possibly be charged with his death because of the eggshell skull rule. Just because he was a fragile person doesn't mean anything. I was still the cause of his death because of this fender bender, right? So I think they're trying to say that George Floyd was like an egg. He was fragile. He was doing drugs. He had all this stuff, but like it doesn't matter because of my actions. I was still the cause of his death. So, in terms of if it sways 2 or 3 jurors in Texas, you have to have, and I think it's the same in Minnesota. You have to have a unanimous vote. So if 2 or 3 jurors are on the fence, that could be a deciding factor.